Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shamika and this is Check the Rhymes. I am super excited that you're here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all, we are talking about food today. I don't know, are you hungry? Because I am. We're going to celebrate America's diverse culinary roots with the new PBS series, The Great American Recipe, and it airs on Fridays at 9 o'clock. Again, that's on PBS. In the house today, I have celebrity chef and former Top Chef star Tiffany Derry. She is one of the judges on the show, so we're going to talk to her about the rest of the season. So stay tuned because you definitely don't want to miss today's show. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome to Check the Rhymes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I showed up this morning hungry, so I'm ready to talk about some food.
Oh man, that seems to be the going theme.
Right. So The Great American Recipe, tell me, what is this show about? Because for people that don't know, or, you know, everybody loves a cooking show. So tell us what this one is about.
The Great American Recipe is really an uplifting cooking competition. It celebrates all the different cultures that make up American food and what makes it unique and iconic. For me, the part that I love is that it is a celebration of different cultures, of different types of cuisine, but also family recipes, right? Like, there is this connection with family that is represented often, and you know, it makes it a little difficult to judge as well. You're like, oh, this is your great grandma recipe, great.
Right, I'm sure you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, like, you know, your great grandma made that and passed it down.
You know, them their great grandma can't cook, you know what I mean? No, but perhaps there's a couple tricks we can do to make it a little bit better, or it's amazing. It can go either way. You're like, okay, your great grandma was on to something. Seriously.
Well, you know, and that brings me to thinking about how even my grandmother, before she passed away, you know, we kept asking for recipes and never got them. But one thing she did write down was like a cake recipe, and then my grandparents' house burned down, so we thought everything was lost. And except that recipe was one of the ones that was still like left. And so we all decided, let's try to make this cake. Nobody can make the cake except my sister. Like it's like so crazy. Just
you just need one.
Right, but it's interesting, like the even the way that their recipes are written and the measurements may not be quite exactly the way it probably should be. So I totally get when you're saying, like, sometimes you may have to offer to tweak it just a little bit. So, but what are you looking for when you're judging these meals? Are you looking for, like, you know, what's going to give somebody 10s across the board?
Yeah, you know, the way we judge is on taste, execution, presentation, and how well the recipe executes the theme that gets assigned for each round. But for me personally, I want to taste the story. I want the food that you're putting on the plate to make so much sense in how it's presented, but also the way it eats. And also, how does it match what you're saying it's supposed to be doing, right? You know, because there are people just cook food and then they make up a story. And here you have the history of that story whenever you're tasting something and you're understanding the why I added this. And, you know, my great-grandmother used this, or my mom used this. Or you have people who are like, look, my mama couldn't cook. But what it did was it made me want to get in the kitchen, and it made me want to try different things. And because of the lack of, now I am so committed. And so everyone has a story, and everyone is unique. And it's great that we all don't have the same one.
Oh, I love that. So I read that your grandmother taught you a little bit about cooking. So is there one cooking lesson that you still, I'm sure it's a lot, but is there like one big one that stands out that every time you step in the kitchen that you kind of rely on?
Yeah, she said, don't cook by just your eyes. Because, and it really goes by what you were saying earlier of how they measure things, how they cook. One of the things that I realized early on is that I'm a very intuitive cook. So when I first started out, someone would give a recipe and the recipe would be okay, but when I look at it and when I taste it and when I smell it and paying attention to how food cooks as it progresses, right? Like you think about olive oil. When you put olive oil in a pan, that has a very certain smell, and if the pan is too hot, then you have a different kind of smell. When you add those onions in the pan, it should caramelize. There should be sizzles. There should be, and if you don't hear the sizzle and see the sizzle, then you need to turn your pan up, right? And then if you go too far, there's a smell that happens with burnt onions or over caramelized onions. So being intuitive with the cooking, no matter whatever the recipe says as well, like it still requires you being present, which is one of the things I think why cooking will always be popular and will never be able to be done, without the person.
Ooh, I was sitting here like, let me take notes, because I can put something in the oven and walk away and be like, did I do something? Oh, what's that smell? I forgot I put it in there. So I need to be more intuitive and pay attention and be present.
Yes, listen, smell. Like really, really, it's not about just your eyes, and you want to understand what happens, and that may be just me being super exquisite, wanting to know it all, right? Like I wanted to know, why do I do this? Why am I putting this? There's a story, and I don't know, you probably heard of it. It's like the person who makes the roast beef, and her grandmother told her to cut the ends off the roast beef. That's what she does, and so that's how she's made it all her years. She's taught her child to, when you make the roast beef, you cut the ends off and then you put it in a pot. And finally, one of the great-grandkids said, well, why are we cutting the roast beef off? What does it do? And she says, I don't know. That's what my grandmother did. Finally, they talked to the grandmother, and grandmother said, because it didn't fit in the pot, so I had to cut some off. And like, you've been doing it all these years, and you don't know why. So, that intuitive cook of just understanding, I think, creates better food.
Absolutely. So I'm just curious if you have an opinion about this. I'm a lazy cook, so anything that's like frozen and already cut up that I can just dump in the pan, perfect. But is there a difference between frozen, like diced onions and peppers, or actually the fresh ones? Does it really matter what you use in a recipe?
There is a difference, but there are small differences depending on what you're doing with it, right? I'm just happy that you're actually using the onion at that moment. So if frozen works for you, then go for it. I think frozen foods in general are a little better than, any kind of can. So it's still fresh. It tends to hold on to more water when we freeze things. So you have that extra moisture, and sometimes when you're cooking things, you're trying to cook out moisture. So it just adds something that you have to do. But hey, you're going to get the flavor. You're going to have the onion, the peppers, and all of that can be easily frozen. If that makes your life easy, then go with it.
Oh, I love that. That makes me feel so much better. So what is your go-to American recipe for like at your house? What is your go-to?
I am a quick cook, so I like things that I can get done quickly. We always have rice. I call myself a rice head because I can have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner in different forms. So we always have some type of rice left over. And if I have it my way, I'm going to quickly stir fry, whether it is whatever protein and vegetables. We'll have it with rice, whether that is cooked together with the rice on the side. I will make a quick soup. And so for me, it's about keeping it simple. I have 3 restaurants going, so oftentimes I don't eat at the restaurant for dinner. I do come home and eat, but I'm trying to do something quick because, like everyone else, time is a commodity right now.
Oh, yes. Well, I can't wait to check out The Great American Recipe. It airs on Fridays at 9 o'clock on PBS. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining me today.
Thank you so much.